Trump blew up in the Oval Office when he was pressed about the Epstein files. Reporters asked direct questions about his name appearing in documents and about whether more records are being withheld. Instead of calmly answering, the exchange turned heated. Personal attacks replaced clear responses, and that moment matters for one reason. When powerful people react under pressure, it reminds everyone watching how important transparency and legal rights really are. This isn't just political drama. When documents are released in a case involving crimes, especially something as serious as trafficking and abuse, people deserve clarity. Survivors deserve protection. The public deserves accuracy. And anyone whose name appears in documents deserves due process. But high-stress moments like that press conference create confusion. People hear phrases like files, sealed documents, redactions, withheld records, and it sounds mysterious. It can feel like something hidden is automatically something illegal. That's not always true. Sometimes documents are sealed to protect victims. Sometimes names appear because of witness interviews, not wrongdoing. Sometimes records are partially blacked out because a judge ordered it. The key rule to remember is simple. Appearing in a document is not the same as being charged with a crime. That distinction protects everyone. In the United States, no matter who you are, president, business leader, journalist, or private citizen, the Constitution guarantees due process. That means no one is guilty because of headlines. No one is guilty because their name shows up in a filing. Guilt requires evidence tested in court. When politicians argue about files, it's easy for the public to feel either outraged or defensive. But the legal system runs on process, not emotion. Another important protection is the presumption of innocence. That's not a slogan. It's a safeguard. It forces the government to prove its case before anyone can be punished. It also protects people from being destroyed by rumor alone. At the same time, victims have rights too. When documents are released in sensitive cases, courts often redact, or black out, identifying information. That's meant to prevent further harm. Survivors of trafficking or abuse have privacy rights. The law tries to balance transparency with protection. That balance is where a lot of confusion happens. Some people hear redacted and think cover-up. Sometimes redactions are questionable. Sometimes they're legally required. Judges decide what can and cannot be made public. That process may be slow, but it's part of how the system protects both victims and the accused. In the press conference exchange, when questions turned heated, the bigger issue underneath was trust. When leaders dismiss questions, people feel stonewalled. When leaders attack reporters personally, people feel information is being avoided. But here's what matters for you as a citizen. You have the right to question your government. The First Amendment protects freedom of the press and freedom of speech. That means reporters can ask hard questions. It also means citizens can demand transparency. Government officials are not legally required to answer every question, but they cannot punish someone for asking it. Another issue raised in that press conference involved elections and federal power. Statements suggesting that the federal government should take over elections raise real constitutional questions. Under the Constitution, states administer elections with federal oversight in limited circumstances. That structure exists to prevent centralized control of voting. Why does that matter? Because the right to vote is fundamental. Any proposal that shifts control of elections triggers legal scrutiny. Courts review whether federal intervention violates state authority or voter protections. That process is not political theater. It's constitutional law in action. High-stress political moments can make it sound like the system is collapsing. It isn't. The system is designed to handle conflict. Here's another key principle. Transparency is not the same as total disclosure. There are limits to what can legally be released. Grand jury materials are often sealed. Ongoing investigations remain confidential. Victim identities are protected. Courts supervise that process. If you ever find yourself connected to an investigation, even indirectly, remember something important. You have the right to remain silent if law enforcement questions you. You have the right to an attorney. You do not have to answer questions on the spot. Staying calm and asking for counsel is not an admission of guilt. It is a constitutional protection. What you should not do is speculate publicly, attack investigators, or try to handle legal exposure through social media. Public statements can become evidence. Emotional reactions can escalate situations unnecessarily. Another part of the press conference focused on foreign policy claims. specifically whether a foreign leader agreed to pause military action. When statements by public officials appear inconsistent, that becomes a matter of credibility, not criminal law. The public has the right to accurate information, but disagreements over policy are resolved politically, not in courtrooms. The Epstein case itself remains a source of intense public interest because it involved powerful individuals and horrific allegations. The public wants full accountability. That's understandable. But accountability happens through evidence, indictments, and court proceedings, not through press conference exchanges. If you're watching events like this unfold and feeling angry or unsettled, that reaction makes sense. Allegations involving abuse and corruption are disturbing. Heated exchanges between leaders and reporters add to the tension. But the practical takeaway is this: rights do not disappear because emotions are high. The Constitution applies in chaotic moments just as much as in calm ones. Due process applies to public figures and private citizens alike. Victim protections apply regardless of politics. Courts, not press conferences, determine criminal responsibility. If more documents are released, they will be reviewed. If wrongdoing is proven, charges follow. If claims are unfounded, the law protects against punishment without proof. The system can be slow, it can be frustrating, but speed is not the goal. Fairness is. So when you see a political explosion over sensitive files, focus on process, not performance. Ask whether courts are involved. Ask whether formal charges exist. Ask whether evidence has been tested. Those are the signals that matter. And remember this: your rights to free speech, to vote, to due process, to legal counsel do not depend on who is in office. They are built into the structure of the country. High-stress moments come and go. The protections remain.